She tore his uniform in anger, but froze when she saw what was underneath. The sirens had been screaming since dawn, turning the market square into a jagged sea of shuttered stalls and skittering shadows. Under the smog-colored banners of the Zenith Authority, everyone learned to walk quickly, speak softly, and never look the patrols in the eye. Mara Kestrel did not bother with the last part. She stood on a stack of cracked citrus crates, her gloved hands stained with engine oil and stubbornness. "You want the transponder back," she called to the approaching patrol. "Then tell your quartermaster to stop skimming fuel rations from the dockworkers." The patrol's point man slowed. Tall, straight-backed, visor down. The black and silver uniform cut sharp lines across his shoulders. "You can't rally a crowd during curfew," he said. His voice came filtered but calm. "Step down." Mara hopped off the crates, boots hitting dust. "You people never come for thieves, only for those who point at them." He tilted his head, just enough that she saw a sliver of his face beneath the visor. Clean jawline, a scar like a pale hyphen near the ear. "Mara Kestrel," he said, as if the name tasted familiar. "You're coming with us." She took a step closer, eyeing the patch on his chest. Unit 17 Vale. "Captain Kestrel," she corrected. "The salvage tug Mockingbird is lawfully registered." She flashed the transponder chip between two fingers like a dare. "And this is mine." "You stole it back," he replied. "From a confiscation rack." He reached for her wrist. She moved first. Years in scrap piles had taught her leverage and grit. She twisted away, planted her heel on his shin to break the stance, and in the same motion her other hand snapped out like a blade. The fabric of his uniform buckled under the serrated edge of her multi-tool. The patch tore loose with a hiss of threads and pride. "Hey!" someone whispered from the crowd that had gathered and then tried not to be a crowd. The officer swayed but did not strike back. His visor had been jarred just enough that she could see his eyes now. Human, gray as spent steel, surprised but not angry. Mara lifted the torn patch as a trophy and froze. Beneath the wound she'd carved in his uniform, the underlayer was not fabric at all. Not the standard polymer mesh. It was a lattice, translucent, honeycombed, and alive with a cool inner glow. Embedded beneath the skin at his collarbone, a panel of glassy plates shifted like scales, and across them were etched lines that were not authority serials. They were glyphs, old ones, founder's script, lost after the siege of Argosy. She knew them. Her mother used to trace them in spilled tea, fragments of a lullaby in letters no one was supposed to remember. Mara's anger tripped over awe. The officer held very still, as if sudden movement would shatter something delicate inside him. "What are you?" she whispered. His throat worked once. "Not here." A pulse of light flashed red on his gauntlet. The other patrolman fanned out, nervous. Somewhere beyond the square, a cutter roared to life and doors slammed like rifle bolts. "Search sweep," one of them barked. "Dock ward first." The officer, Vale, closed his hand gently around Mara's torn patch. "Walk," he said softly, eyes flicking to the alleys. "Now, or you'll be caught between gears you can't move." "Why should I trust?" "Because I didn't hit you back," he said. "And because you recognized those glyphs." Mara hesitated 1 second too long, then moved with him into the shadowed lane between a spice shop and a shuttered chapel. They ran under awnings that smelled of pepper and wet rope. The sirens flattened into a steady moan, the city's heartbeat turning arrhythmic. They ducked into the belly of a decommissioned foundry, past machines that stood like sleeping giants. Vale popped a panel with a practiced thumb and guided her into a maintenance corridor lined with conduit-like ribs. They stopped where the noise was muffled by old metal. He stepped back, lifted both hands to the collar of his ruined uniform, and tore it open the rest of the way. No man should glow, but he did, faintly, as if lit by the memory of a star. Plates of not-quite armor lapped one over another across his chest and shoulder like the petals of an obsidian flower, each etched with those ancient lines. Between them, soft bioluminescence pulsed, slow as breathing. "Wardens," Mara said, the word falling out of its grave. "You're a warden." "I was," he said. "Or I am, depending on whether you think surviving counts. Name's Orion Vale. The authority uses me to hunt smugglers and rebels. I use them to move in places I need to be. Why here?" He glanced at the glow in his chest, then met her eyes. "Because someone smuggled a cache of Founders artifacts through your docks last week. If the authority gets them, they don't vanish. They're unmade. If I get them, I can seed them back into the world. You're stealing from your own." "I'm stealing from the machine," he said. "Not the people crushed under it." Footsteps clanged on the catwalk above. Voices shouted. Vale shifted to cover her without thinking. The plates at his shoulder reoriented with a soft click, presenting a line of hardened edges toward the threat. Mara touched the etched glyphs before she could stop herself. Plates were warm. A childhood tune threaded her thoughts. "I didn't cut to hurt you," she said, the apology odd on her tongue. "I cut because I was tired of being handled." "And now?" he asked. "Now I want to know where those artifacts are." They moved like shadows through the foundry's undergut until they reached a grated window overlooking Dock 9. Below, searchlights combed the spaces between containers, and a shape like a sleeping whale crouched at berth. The mockingbird. "Your tug," Vale said. "My home," Mara replied. "And my debt." On the far side of the deck, authority drones hummed around a crate stamped with ordinary shipping numbers. Vale's gaze sharpened. "There. Of course it's under my nose. Can you get us onto your ship without tripping a scan?" She grinned without humor. "I installed the scan." They slid along the ducting until the window spit them into a culvert that opened behind the mockingbird's waste recycler. Mara's hand skimmed the hull as they moved. 3 taps, a pause, 2 taps, the ship's private language. A vent whispered open, and they slipped inside. On the cargo deck, the crate stood alone like a throne no one dared approach. Vale lifted his visor completely now. Human face bare and alert. "I'll draw the drones," he said. "You crack it." "Since when do wardens play bait?" "Since the world turned upside down," he said, and smiled like a man who'd seen both sides of gravity. He stepped into the open and clapped, a crisp sound that snapped drones toward him. His chest plates brightened, throwing a clean, cold light that scrambled their lenses. They jittered, recalibrated, and surged. Vale moved with a grace that made Mara think of rain sliding off stone. She slashed the crate's seal. Inside, wrapped in rough cloth, lay tablets of glassy stone, tiny lenses, a coil of wire that hummed like a sleeping cord. A child's toy. No, a projector, small and stubborn, the kind that told stories in light. Mara cradled it. "We can't keep this here." "No," Vale said, breathing a little harder. A dent marred one plate near his collarbone, luminous beneath. "We bring it back where it started. The chapel. The old one by the market." He stared. "They'll level it." "Not if we light it first."